What's going on, everyone? I got a couple things to talk about today. One being Superman is now going to be up for some nominations for the Golden Globes. That's right. Just about a week ago or so, we heard that for your consideration for the Academy, Superman was submitted. Now, it looks like Superman has been submitted for drama categories at the Golden Globes, such as Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor. Some additional submissions include James Gunn for directing and screenplay and original song for the Mighty Crabjoy's theme. Look, I know this is pretty much the same thing I said the other day when it came to the Academy Awards. This is the confidence that Warner Brothers Discovery has in Superman. They're confident in this film. They're confident in James Gunn. They like what they're seeing. They like what they have seen from James Gunn, from Superman, from what is going on with this film and the DCU. This is just exciting, guys. Now, does this guarantee that it's one, going to win? Two, is it going to get nominated? No, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's nice to see that you have a studio backing. You have a studio who has confidence and is willing to back the creative choices and the creative minds behind these projects and these films. That is the nice thing that we're seeing today that is much different than what we used to see at Warner Brothers in the past, specifically when it comes to these types of films. And that's something that we've been wanting to see come from Warner Brothers for quite some time, and we're finally seeing it. Now, I know that, look, Warner Brothers Discovery is probably going to get sold here within the next 12 to 16 months, if not a little sooner. And if that's the case, I hope that they stick to supporting and having faith in their creatives like they do right now, because they really are showing a lot of faith in their creatives, unlike what we've seen in the past. So this is exciting. I do like to see this type of stuff. I think everybody should be excited for seeing this type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Excitement and confidence. That's the word I just lost it there. Confidence in their creatives. All right, but that's not why we're all here. This is not why we're all here. Look, I know this is exciting. I know this is great. And look, people come at me all the time and say, Slav, you just constantly bash on everybody else. Why don't you talk about the great things of DC? Look, I talk about the great things of DC. I talk about other things, not just DC. I talk about Marvel, Star Wars, and a lot of other pop culture. It's just that you that want to yell at me and criticize me don't watch those other things because you only notice me whenever I talk about this other stuff. So go away. You people, just go away. Anyways, what I want to talk about now, though, is, you may have seen it in the title. Is this the Snyder Cult's last stand? Is this the final stand for the Snyderverse fandom? Look, I get it. I do. I say this all the time. I completely understand the desire, the want, the passion behind wanting to see Zack Snyder complete his arc. I get it. I do. I want to see his story. I do. But I've also accepted the fact that, one, it's time to move on. We have a new DC universe to sink our teeth into and enjoy. I also understand that you don't look backward at this point in time. You just don't do that. There's a reason why companies like Sony haven't gone back and said, let's do Andrew Garfield's next Spider-Man movie. Let's do a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. There's a reason why they haven't done that, because you don't look backward. You move forward, and you continuously move forward. The same thing goes with DC right now. So could this be the final stand? And what I mean by that, specifically what I mean by that is, in these recent weeks, we've seen that these Snyder groupies have launched a major push, and they're pushing hard right now because they're hearing about the intense the negotiations or bids or whatever it is for Warner Brothers Discovery to be sold. So they decided, now's the time. Now's the time to push. Now, I've said this before. We saw how that went with Warner Brothers and Discovery when Discovery took over Warner Brothers. We saw how that went. It didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. But they're really pushing hard right now. Sell ZSJL to Netflix, restore the Snyderverse, sell Warner Brothers Discovery to Netflix, and so on and so forth. Let's not forget they pushed the narrative for quite a while that if Paramount took over Warner Brothers, that James Gunn would be out. And then just not even a week ago, that narrative was squashed when news came out that no, Paramount would not be getting rid of their creatives. And it's kind of funny how nobody's discussed that. Nobody from that side of the fandom, the Snyder fandom, has come out and said, well, we were wrong. Because they will never admit that they're wrong. But let's face it. We know James Gunn is going to be fine. Whether it's Netflix, whether it's Paramount or Comcast or Universal, Apple, Amazon, whomever. James Gunn is going to be fine. He really is. Like, that's the thing that people don't quite understand. The company that comes in is going to sit there. Now, barring any absolute catastrophe with the DCU, and when I say catastrophe, I'm saying absolute bombs where, Supergirl makes $100 million and Clayface makes $20 million and Lanterns doesn't get any viewership at all and things like that. And I'm not talking about Peacemaker numbers. I'm not talking about Superman numbers. I'm not even talking about Creature Commando numbers. Those are all good. Those are all fine. Those are all numbers that are attainable and doable and they can build off of and continue to build off of. I'm saying way, way below that. That's a catastrophe. So barring that happening, James Gunn is fine. James Gunn is going to most likely stay on as the head of DC Studios, co-head of DC Studios, for the foreseeable future. Now, mind you, things can change after a year or two of this new company when they come in and take over. They may come in and they may say, look, we're going to give you a shot, James. Let's see how it goes. Blah, blah, blah. We don't want to make any major changes right now. We have all this new stuff and structure, and we got to just make sure everything goes right. And then, obviously, we got to, downsize things over here. Some, just inconsistencies over here, and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, they're going to do things like that. Sure. But DC Studios is going to be one of those things that they're going to look at and say, look, we don't have a comic book studio. We don't have a studio to run this. So let this go. We're going to let this do its thing right now. As long as it's not a complete failure, which it's not going to be, we're going to let it go for the moment. And then after a year or two, they'll go back to it, look at their contracts, look at their things, and say, okay, what can we do to make it better? Is keeping James Gunn on good? Does James Gunn even want to stay? Do we want to do this? So how do we want to move forward? And at that time, we're looking at, well, are they really going to want to go backward and do the Snyderverse? Probably not. Probably not. They're going to want to continue moving forward as they have, because no company is going to want to look backward. Look, not every project is going to be a home run under James Gunn, just as not every project in the MCU was a home run. Not every project in the DCEU was a home run. Not every project in Star Wars, every project in Lord of the Rings, every project under Game of Thrones. And every franchise has their oddball. Every franchise will have its misstep. It happens, some more than others. So a studio knows that. A company knows that. They're going to come in and they're going to say, okay, there may have been a mishap here or there, but that's not any reason to panic. Let's keep moving. So you don't need to worry about that. But here's the thing. The Snyder groupies, they know this too. And that's really why they're pushing so hard right now. They're twisting the narratives this bizarre data that they love to manufacture, the conspiracy level optimism, it's all a symptom of denial by them. They're clinging to nostalgia while the rest of the world has moved on. Kind of ironic, don't you think? They sit there and criticize the current DC fans of, oh, you're just buying into what James Gunn is doing because it's rooted in nostalgia. Yet they're more rooted in nostalgia because of a 10-year-old story, more than 10-year-old story. Odd and ironic. But like I said, we saw this play out before with the Discovery Warner Brothers merger. It didn't go the way they thought. And here's the thing. They thought that Zaslav was going to be their hero. They truly thought that Zaslav was going to come in. They even believed scoopers who were saying, look, Zaslav and Snyder are having these secret meetings and lunches in LA and Zimbabwe and Iceland and in Antarctica. And I don't know, I'm saying random things here. But these scoopers were literally saying that they were having these meetings. And they ate it up. These people ate it up and believed that these things were going on and that Zaslav was going to be their savior, despite Zaslav never, ever, ever promising a damn thing and saying that he was going to save the Snyderverse. Then what happened? What happened? They turned on David Zaslav. Man, did they turn on Zaslav. They hate him now. They absolutely despise him. They hate the man. But he's made some damn good business decisions over the last few years. But they hate the man and criticize every single move he makes because they decided to believe scoopers, grifters on the internet and not think logically. Interesting. Now, do you think the same thing wouldn't happen if Ellison and Skydance Paramount took over? Do you think the same thing wouldn't happen if Netflix took over or Comcast? The same thing is going to happen. That's why this is their last stand. That is why if the same thing occurs, which it's going to happen, they're pushing hard right now. Restore the Snyderverse, sell Zack Snyder's Justice League, sell Warner Brothers Discovery. We want this, we want that, me, I want. And they're going to keep screaming and yelling. But make no mistake, as soon as that sale goes through, and if they don't start to hear, oh, the Snyderverse is coming, they're going to get louder and louder and meaner and more toxic. And that company, they're not going to listen to you. And the minute they say, we are sticking with James Gunn, it's going to turn. And the toxicity is just going to, they're going to sink their teeth into you, whether you're Netflix, Comcast, doesn't matter who. They're going to sink their teeth into you, and that company is going to become the most evil company of all companies that have ever companied. Because that's what they do. So this is their last stand, because I can assure you, once Warner Brothers gets sold now, and once or their DC IP or whatever happens, wherever DC ends up, it's not moving again. And because I've seen this play out before, not once, but twice, and now this is technically the third time, and we've seen how these fans act. Sure, the first time they were a little more honorable, but they've just been constantly getting worse and worse and worse. There's no chance in hell that if they continue to act this way, that they're going to get what they want. Nor should they. Because it's no longer about the art, it is about ego. And the sad irony, this is really the end of the road for them. Because if Netflix, Paramount, or any other company does buy Warner Brothers Discovery or its assets, they're not going to cater to you people. Why would they? Again, they're going to look and see what happened to Zaslav. See, these studios are smart. They'll stay as far away from chaos as possible And the truth is, these fans don't want storytelling. They want control. They act as if DC executives personally wronged them. They act like James Gunn wronged them. Peter Safran wronged them. They act like David Zaslav wronged them. They act like they're owed retribution for not getting Snyder's Justice League 2. But they're not they're not owed a damn thing. This, right now, this is it. This is it for them. This is their last stand. This is why they're pushing so hard right now. So, guys, what can I say? I've thrown that bone to them. I've let them know what they can and should do to maybe make it worth their while, to make it a worthwhile chance and a final stand. But they don't listen to me. They don't want to listen to me because it's not about the story. It's not about the real movement. It's not about the art. It's about them. Each one of them individually. It's a sad, sad day. At least for Snyder. Maybe. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. Love to hear what you have to say about this. I want to know, hey, what do you think about the global? The global. What do you think about the Golden Globes and Superman possibly getting nominated and maybe even winning? What do you think? I want to know your thoughts in the comments about that. And what do you think? Is this the final stand for the Snyderverse? I think it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.